Welcome to ECTV Live. I'm Rusty Fender. David DeCosmo is off this week, and we wish him a good vacation of sorts. We will carry on here on ECTV with our guest today, Bob Price. Just when you think that Pittston had enough going on with the St. Patrick's Day Parade and the Pittston Tomato Festival, two more events. Bob is the president of Pittston Riverfest, and good to see you as always, Bob.
Good to see you, Rusty. Thanks for having us.
10 years already.
10th year that we're having the Riverfest.
And you've been with it since the start, Bob?
Not from the beginning. I've been around about 6 years with it.
And tell us how everything got going there.
Originally, it was started by Joe Savakinis, just to try to reclaim the Pittston heritage and give people an idea what has happened in the past and that in town.
And the Savakinis family is huge in the area.
Yes.
A good friend of mine is Bob, of course, with the Rocky Glen.
Yes.
He got the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with the marker on Rocky Glen Road in Music. Great family when it comes to local history. Great to deal with the Savakinis.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. A lot of help. They always help us out in any way they can with any of our events and everything, and it works out fantastic.
How did you get interested in when you took over the Riverfest? Did you think that this is going to be, I mean, we all hope it is, but did you think this was going to be a viable contender for the future events?
Most definitely. We have a lot going on with it. We've done a lot in the past years. A couple of years we've gotten rain. Can't control Mother Nature.
Right.
But each year we try to, learn from our mistakes and better things as we go. We want to make it a bigger and better event, get more people down to town to see it. So we just kind of keep building on it. And that's when they asked me, they voted me as president at the beginning of the year. Let's continue it and see where we can go with it.
When you look back at the events of the first Riverfest, it must be like watching black and white TV and color TV now, because when you start out, you kind of want to under-promise and over-deliver, which is what you want to do in anything. So now you're at that point, 10 years with, at least almost a decade under your belt, that now it's pretty much, at least the template has been cast for what's coming up next. So this is a good spot to be in right now.
It is. It is. We have a lot going on. We've made a couple of changes. We've added some events to it. We've tweaked things a little bit to make them a little bit better. And we're holding it this year on the Cooper's parking lot grounds. We used to hold it down along the river, but it's a narrow path and people didn't seem to like to wander down there, so we moved everything up into the Cooper's parking lot, give people more of a chance to walk around, see the vendors, see the displays, see our stage acts. It's going to be something going on for the entire day.
Pittston is just an incredible place. Dave and I talk about this all the time. From a laughable, burned out shell back in the 60s and 70s, which is not just Pittston's fault. In fact, it's no fault of Pittston at all. It's the way that smaller cities, of course, in between two larger ones like Wilkes-Barre and Scranton, were back then. Everything migrated to a Scranton area or a Wilkes-Barre area. Then you have Pittston in its day, one of the biggest cities around, with passenger service from the Laurel Line and all that. But it was just a casualty of the times. And as the smaller businesses either go out of business or morph into something else, you leave the Pitstons holding the bag with deserted storefronts, with burned out shells of buildings. But what a comeback. This is the biggest comeback since the 1969 New York Mets. It was just truly incredible when you look at that city.
I can remember Pittston growing up where the stores were still open, Main Street was still a bustling.
You and me both. Kresge's and Woolworths and Bohr and Casey's at the corner. Absolutely.
The whole downtown American Auto stores.
American Auto.
All of that right along Main Street.
Right.
The banks, everything, busy. You go there on a Saturday, you could barely walk.
Absolutely.
Let alone find a parking place.
Absolutely.
And then, as you said, throughout the 60s and 70s, it became nothing. It was a ghost town. In the last 20 years, they've revitalized it. They've started to get the businesses back in. Now, the malls have killed the days of everybody just going downtown to do their shopping, but they found their niche. They brought smaller businesses back. They brought specialty shops back. They brought restaurants back, and the town is growing again. And it brought events back to get people to come to the downtown.
And the sad part, Bob, is that the malls killed the small stores, and now the small existing stores are killing the malls, because all the anchor stores now are either moving out or have moved out. Life is such a cycle. It is so cyclical that the pendulum actually really does swing back and forth.
Well,
Who would think?
Everything will be back again if you wait long enough.
Just like weather, 30-year cycle. And we talked about that before. We're in the middle of several hurricanes now by the time the show airs. And, on the East Coast, and you just can't plan. You plan summer events in May, June, July, and August, and you run the risk of these incessant thunderstorms every day that come out of nowhere and usually last all evening, damaging winds, rooftops torn off, and then you get into a more passive weather system like in September and October, and then you get into the rainy periods. You just can't win with an outdoor event, so you have to take your chance, you have to plan carefully, and you have to stick with your plan, Bob.
Well, that's it. We picked the best weekend we could out of it. try to stay around other events so that we avoid other events that would conflict with ours. And the rest is up to Mother Nature. We can't control what's going to happen. Earlier in the week when you started to look at the storm front, it looked like we might have to cancel with the way the hurricane was moving. Now it's staying to the south. It looks like we should be clear and have a great weekend for everybody to come out and enjoy.
Oh, I'll tell you, dodging another bullet, that's wonderful. And on the heels of Pittston Riverfest is Paint Pittston Pink. In its 5th year already.
Yes.
And tell us about the fruition of this. Now, clearly you were already on board with Pittston Riverfest when Paint Pittston Pink came aboard. So
Yes.
you've been with this one since the start, Bob.
Paint Pittston Pink I've been with from the beginning. I did their photography the 1st year. I got involved with the committee the 2nd year, and the rest is history. We're in our 5th year. This is going to be our 5th anniversary, so we're going bigger and better, a lot more events, bigger events. To date, we've raised almost $250,000. It's a grassroots organization, a small group of people that get together to do this. And this year we want to make it even bigger and better.
Remember last year going through the town, and I can't think of one business that didn't participate with the pink splatters and the pink blotches on the doors and the windows and the sidewalks. You know, that's one thing about Pittston, which is unlike a lot of other cities, is that when people participate in Pittston, they participate.
Oh, yes.
It is like 99.99%. And that's a wonderful thing, something that you can't plan on.
No. And the support from the community is amazing. With both Riverfest and Paint Pittston Pink. But like you said, you go down Pittston during the Paint Pittston Pink, every store has got the pink splotches, murals painted on the buildings. I mean, it's just, they go all out and show the support for us. Banners up all over town. When we have the race downtown on Saturday, it'll be October 6th this year, the entire town is pink. Between the powder being thrown on the runners as they go through the race, but every store has got signs up, specials up, everybody's open. The downtown is full again.
You know, it's tough to credit one person because it is a concerted group effort. It's a team environment. But Mayor Michael Lombardo has done so much, and as you know, he's a guest on the show at least 2 or 3 times a year for the St. Patrick's Day parade and the run for the Pittston Tomato Festival, in charge of the actual ambiance, the aesthetics of Pittston, the faux cobblestone walkways, the period lighting. Truly an incredible cityscape.
Yes, and they've developed it and they've expanded it throughout the city. Mayor Mike's vision is it took years to come through, and you can't do it overnight. But it's starting to really show now downtown where how much more there is to see, how much more there is to do, how many more businesses have moved back. And Mayor Mike is one that anytime you need something, you give him a call, okay, we're trying to do this, we need this done, he's right there with you, and he's right there helping you during the events too.
You know, I was born and raised in Old Forge, just up the street, and it's amazing. Old Forge is also one of those, you can say, state or world-class cities with more fast food franchises than some of the bigger cities have. You know, a McDonald's and a Burger King and an Ace Hardware and supermarkets and 2 of the 3 drugstore chains and Dunkin' Donuts and 2 convenient marts and 5 gas stations. It's truly incredible. And I was told by the mayor, the last mayor of Old Forge, that it's amazing. I'll never forget this, but the last mayor, Michelle Avasado, said, you know, you'd be surprised what's available to these towns if you only want to fill out the paperwork. And apparently Lombardo knows that because he fills out the paperwork for all these grants and all these beautification projects. That's a wonderful thing, Bob.
So many things have been done in the last 20 years. I mean, like we had talked about before, you have the burned out shell of what used to be Pittston. My mom can talk about when there was businesses on every floor of every building in downtown and what was there and how bustling it was. That all went away. Now with Mayor Mike's vision and the businesses coming back and everything downtown, it's a nice town. People want to come back and see it again. For a lot of years, everybody just avoided Pittston. Now that's just another small town. Now everybody wants to come back and see what's going on. We have the inspirational mural downtown, one of the largest murals in the state of Pennsylvania. The streetscapes and that. Art everywhere, different art pieces being evolved every month. The Art Walk, Second Friday Art Walk in Pittston every month. Town's crowded again. Everybody's open. The artists come downtown selling and showing their wares. Crowded the entire time. Music, activities, the entire town joins in. And that's the one thing you said, like with Pittston, everybody gets involved. Everybody from the surrounding towns, and even with us, with the Greater Pittston Culture Coalition, we get the other towns involved in this. Get everybody to downtown and see what we can do and see what's going on. You and I are in the same age demo. I remember as a kid, my folks used to take me down to eat at the Old Nook, which was at the base of the Fort Jenkins Bridge. And the Flatiron Building, and every town had one, was right there.
There was no Kennedy Boulevard. That was a railroad track, actually, as you well remember, that went down to the gas works.
Yes.
And Main Street was a two-way thoroughfare.
Yes.
And trying to get through there was like trying to get through Broadway of New York City back then. And then they built Kennedy Boulevard after around the assassination of Kennedy, 63, 64. And that opened up town to just incredible amounts of business at the time. And it was short-lived, of course, because then again the fires came and the abandoned buildings, and every city just has this. There's no way to prevent that. But when you look back to what it was great, and it had a downturn and came back better than ever. This is a success story that Hollywood can't write.
No. You look at what Pittston has become compared to a lot of towns in the area that really haven't recovered as well. And Kennedy Boulevard was a great addition to the town as far as to keep the traffic flow, because I can remember taking 5 minutes to go from block to block downtown when traffic was heavy on a weekend.
With the cop shack at the corner of
Yes.
Water Street.
Bunny Linen at the quarter.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
So incredible how they opened that up with, again, even futuristic vision back then. We're talking 50 years ago.
Exactly. And now you look at what's come to the downtown with Lucerne County Community College opening a branch downtown.
Not kidding.
Different restaurants in that opening up. As soon as people want to come downtown, people want to expand downtown. Fuji Restaurant moved from a smaller location on the north end of Main Street to a bigger location on the south end of Main Street. So it shows you that the businesses are doing well, or they wouldn't be expanding, they wouldn't be staying.
The Tomato Bar, and then when Powers sold out, A.S. Powers, the plumbing, they're there since my father was a kid. Then who takes them over at R.J. Walker? Nobody wanted to leave the town.
Right.
That's incredible. You couldn't get a PR or media relations person to actually write that and have people believe it. It's amazing.
No. To have that much in stability. The businesses come in, they don't stay for 2 or 3 months and leave. They don't stay for a year and leave. These businesses, once they stay there, they're there forever. And they just keep expanding.
Now, this year, Riverfest, we have several days now, and this is 2018, this will be the 10th. And I want you to run through a list of some of the things that are available and the dates that this starts, Bob.
Well, this is all going to be on September 15th, this Saturday. It's going to run from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It'll be in the Cooper's parking lot, the majority of the information that'll be available there. We have the bandstand set up. We're going to have stage acts throughout the day on the bandstand, ending in the day with some music from the, again, local businesses, the music scene. Their students are going to be providing music. Earlier in the day, we have Broadway on the Boulevard, the new dance studio that opened in Pittston. Their students are going to be performing at 11 o'clock. We have the Five Mountain Bear Clan going to be there. They're going to set up a teepee right at the front end of Kennedy Boulevard, a 30-foot teepee, so you're going to be able to tell that from satellite. We're going to be able to, anybody's going to be able to see what's going on. In Cooper's Cabana, we're going to have different speakers and everything in there, talking about history, talking about the area of Pittston. Eddie Ackerman's going to do a talk about the mural in downtown Pittston, all the people that are on it, and if somebody wants to know about the history of the people of Pittston, there's your perfect opportunity to learn about who's on that mural. But it's going to be a day long of activities.
You got a lot of great folks here. Jack Smile is a friend of mine for the last 30 years, of course, one of the head local history writers for the Sunday Dispatch, the Pittston Dispatch, and of course Eddie Ackerman. And the coal history now, let's run through the events here. The Five Mountain Bear Clan, as you said, so 11 o'clock in the morning is going to be the main stage, first of all, on the 15th, and then noon is Broadway on the Boulevard, and of course 1 o'clock will be the ribbon cutting.
Yes.
And then there's a tribute actually to the Civil War generals and Edgar Allan Poe. How do you come up with the flow, because these are non-interlocking speakers, artists that perform? It's really a great cross-sampling, and you can honestly say that this has something for everybody, Bob.
That's what we're trying to do with this. We're trying to make this that it'll be something for everybody to come and see, something different every hour, something different going on. It's like you said, it's a very wide variety of things that we're going to put on that day, something for everybody to come down to. Once the committee sat down, we tried to figure out who we could put in at what time slot, what would flow from person to person better, and keep everybody's interest and keep them there for the whole day.
You have to love Cooper's Cabana. That's only ground zero for the tomato throwing contest, but no, everything seems to be centered around there. Open displays again, 10 o'clock in the morning. And then Jack Smiles, of course, with local baseball history. Now, that'll be interesting. I'm not a real big sports fan, but I used to play baseball with the Dury 18ers. And that I'll bet that will be a very interesting, because I haven't seen that again. You have to love things that haven't been overdone.
Exactly.
That's going to be a great to visit things in this area like Pittston, of course, and maybe even Scranton with Shout Stadium, the old Shout Stadium, when the Scranton Red Sox had their teams back in the 60s and the 70s. And then Savakinas, Bob, we mentioned before, coincidentally, with Rocky Glen Park Memories. Rocky Glen, such a draw. And, of course, Pittston being the midway point between Wilkes-Barre and Scranton on the Laurel Line, the old Wilkes-Barre, the Laurel Line Railroad, the passenger train. and so many folks would board right there, which is the Stoveworks now, across from Powers, R.J. Walker Plumbing on Broad Street, and such a historical way to get to the park in those days, pre-automobile transportation, Bob.
Everything was right there. You had the Laurel line that ran through, you had the Pittston Stoveworks, you had the train station down along Kennedy, what's now Kennedy Boulevard. All of that intertwined, and everybody went to Rocky Glen. That was the spot to go during the summer, whether you were from Wilkes-Barre, whether you were from Scranton. The Laurel line tracks ran right there, and everybody went along with that. And that's another thing that, to touch on that with the Rocky Glen with Bob Savakinas, is that there was so much history to that park. It was there for so long, and so many people remember it. And it's a great chance for people to come and see just what that was all about. Because, of course, now there's nothing there. You can see the sign of what used to be there. But to relive that is great for people.
I think the real sad part, me being an engineer, I work for PennDOT now, one of my full-time jobs, but it was sad that the Laurel Line rail station was torn down right on the eastern side of the Water Street Bridge, which is where Domino's Pizza is now.
Yes.
And to think that back when they tore that down and it had the wrought iron kind of like a fire escape that leads down to the tracks to the boarding platform, and to think they miscalculated with Kennedy Boulevard,
Off
and that
by 9
didn't
feet.
have to be torn down
No.
at all. Isn't that sad? That's just one of those bloopers and blunders that, isn't that amazing?
And that's the thing, you look back on Pittston, some of the things that you wish you could have saved: the Flatiron Building, the American Theater, the old train station,
Royal Bake Shop.
Royal Bake Shop. There were so many things downtown that were mainstays of the town that over the years, either from deterioration or just through remodeling, through fire, through whatever, that they had to come down. But if we could only have preserved those things, but we have them in pictures, we have them in that, and it's a good chance for people to come and talk about the history of it.
Hey, there's no money back then, Bob. I mean, $5 back then was a fortune. I mean, now you talk hundreds of thousands like you talk $10. I mean, that was a lean time. It was the war time, the Vietnam War era and all that. Money was tough. A buck was tough to have.
My dad grew up in Harding, and he talked about he'd come to Pittston, take the bus into Pittston, go to the movies, and then he'd save the quarter or the nickel to ride the bus home. He'd walk home to Harding from Pittston, stop at the Hitchner Biscuit, because for 5 cents you could get a huge bag of broken
Absolutely.
biscuits and that, and they'd snack on that on the whole way home.
My mother worked at the Hitchner Biscuit Company before she became a teacher when she was still in college, and she worked there packing Lorna Doones and all that, right? Which is now, I'm glad they saved that building in
Yes.
West Pittston,
Yes.
which is now luxury apartments. But
Yes.
the railroad track, the Erie-Lackawanna, used to serve that, the DL&W. And I'm glad they saved the Hitchner Biscuit Company back then. But boy, you're not kidding about that. Great local history. And on the heels of that, Ed Ackerman, the Faces of the Pittston Inspirational Mural.
Yes.
So, big calling card, let's face it, the murals in downtown
The mural,
Pittston.
everybody knows, everybody sees. It's the postage stamp of downtown Pittston. And Michael Pilata did such a phenomenal job with putting people on there, depicting them as they were, and just the history of downtown is on that mural, and the people that really mattered downtown on that mural. My personal connection to it, my uncle Lou Batera was a professional pool player. He is on the mural. So I have a personal connection to that mural, and I do like to have people know the history of the people that are on there.
How about that? I didn't know that. I know the name very well because I used to follow pool, Eddie Moscone, and of course Minnesota Fats and all those folks in the 50s and 60s.
Yes.
That's amazing. A great place, as a matter of fact, downtown, and that is in the parking lot of what is the Pittston Tomato Festival as well, the main mural there. So again, all day, the Ring of Fire from Steamtown, Touch a Truck, hay wagon ride to the Knox site. Another fascinating thing, 1959, July 22nd, when the Susquehanna River broke through the Knox mine in Port Griffith. That's an
Pretty much
incredible.
was the end of anthracite mining in the area.
Absolutely.
Jenna Kramer comes down with hay wagons and transports people down there along the rails to trails, along the river there. They can see everything on the way down, learn a little bit of the history. It stops at the Eagle Air Shaft, where many of the miners that did survive came out of. Stops at the Knox site. We have people down there to explain the history of what happened and where everything is, and there is a marker there for the men that did die in the mine. So it's a good local history piece there to see as you go down there.
I've been there 100 times. Good thing that the news footage from WYOU, which is WDAU back in its days, exists, where they cut. It was 2 tracks back in those days in 1959, one coming, one going, like the interstate system. And they broke the rails. They actually cut the rails and they swerved them out into the void, the whirlpool void of the Knox.
Yes.
Truly incredible piece of history. I'm glad that the footage from
I'm
that
glad
area
that that
survived.
footage did survive. And the one famous picture of that is the picture of the whirlpool that was taken from the tracks. It was taken by Bill Lukasik.
That's correct. Bill Lukasik with the coal car still
Yes.
sticking up.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Bill Lukasik Jr. will be at the event with the camera that his father used to take that
That's
picture.
great. Now
so
that
you can
is
actually
really
see where he shot
great.
the picture, and he'll bring a copy of the picture with it, so you can actually see where that was taken.
That was the Cadillac of photography. Lukasik back in those
Yes,
days. That was
Lukasik
he was the
Brothers
only
was-
name.
Exactly. That was the name of Greater Pittston.
So the Knox site, the caricature artists, face painting, of course, panning for minerals, vendors, historic and cultural displays, Bear Mountain Indian teepee, food gift baskets, and much more. And again, that's on the main stage for the September 15th Riverfest 2018. Now let's move on to Paint Pittston Pink and give us a little idea about how this came about, Bob.
Paint Pittston Pink was started, as we said, 5 years ago by Barb Chandra and Kiana Lehman. Barb is a cancer survivor. She had taken a experimental treatment. After she was diagnosed, she researched it, took this experimental treatment, which did cure her. She wanted to give back and give back to the research of what helped her, so they started Paint Pittston Pink as a fundraiser to generate some money. As you were saying earlier with Pittston, once somebody starts something, everybody joins in. Barb put it out there for what she wanted to do with it, and it grew, and people joined, and it grew. There's a small committee of us that really organize the whole event, but the entire area comes out to support it. We have events throughout almost a 2-week period now going on, and every one of them will be packed.
What's the dates on this now? This starts on Saturday, September 22nd, so it's timed perfectly to give you breathing room after the 15th on this deal. Perfectly timed.
Thankfully, we have a week in there
choreographed. Absolutely.
The rest a little bit there. September 22nd, we're doing something a little different this year. We're having a roast down at the FM Kirby Center. With our 50-year anniversary, we want to make it something a little bit bigger. So we have some notable local celebrities going to be roasted down there by their friends. Tickets are available through the Kirby box office or through Ticketmaster. Hope everybody comes down because it's going to be a great time and a lot of good laughs. I know a lot of the people that are going to be roasting. I know a lot of people that are going to be roasting them. It's going to be a great time.
$50 each, available at the Kirby Center box office or Ticketmaster. Of course, Senator John Udechak, of course, thanks to him, a lot of the funding available for a lot of the projects in the area. Of course, he has the nay or the yay on deals like that. So he'll be there, Dave Fusco, and it's, of course, $50 available at the Kirby Center box office or Ticketmaster. That's Saturday, September 22nd. Now, on Friday, September 28th, is going to be Paint the Night Pink, the Lantern Launch. And this sounds interesting, Bob.
What we do there, you go down to Riverfront Park in Pittston, which is kind of behind Cooper's. We have a lantern launch. If anybody's seen the lanterns that have candles in them, and they're like miniature hot air balloons. Well, they're all pink candles, and we give you a marker. If anybody has a message they want to write to someone who may have survived or may have passed through the cancer, they can write their message on the candle, and then all at once we light them and release them over the river. It's a beautiful thing to see. We have some people talk. We're going to be presenting some awards this year down at the river, and it's a great time to be downtown and just enjoy the camaraderie, everybody getting together and talking and enjoying the whole lantern launch. And if you haven't seen it, it's beautiful to see with the lanterns floating over Pittston.
I like the fact that a lot of these things have not been done before, because some of these things are played out that everyone does. So it's nice to see that this is a refreshing break and some new creativity is added to some of these events like this pink lantern. That is the riverfront along Kennedy Boulevard. Of course, you'll descend the steps near the Water Street Bridge to go to Riverside
Either by
Park.
Cooper's or by the Water Street Bridge,
right, or
kind of
Riverside
walk
Park.
to the middle.
Correct. 7 p.m. is the start, 8 o'clock is the launch, and you can go to Race Roster, that's one word, raceroster.com to reserve your lantern, or they'll be available that night, $35 and $40. That again is Friday, September 28th at Riverside Park between the Water Street Bridge and Cooper's waterfront. Now Saturday is Give a Pint, Get a Pint, the blood drive at the Susquehanna Brewing Company on Main Street in Jenkins Township, Bob?
Yes, that was started last year, kind of an offshoot of Paint Pittston Pink. It's a blood drive to help the American Red Cross out, and also in honor of former Pittston Police Chief Greg Pollacare and attorney that was had passed away last year also.
Brian Musto.
Brian Musto.
Yeah.
And it was organized last year, had a great turnout. We have a bone marrow registry at it, gift baskets at it, food truck comes in, of course the great beer at Susquehanna Brewing. So you get a beer once you get done with giving your blood, and everybody stop down. That lasts for the better part of the day, and great turnout at that and a great event to be at.
They are great folks too from Susquehanna Brewing. They used to come to the radio station at the WKRZ, and they used to promote when they just started that, bringing back the brands of Stegmeyer and Gibbons in the area and all that. That's a great event too as well, and those folks are really into that, and they're very successful now with that.
Yes,
I guess you could call it a microbrew, but I mean now everything's a microbrew, but they're very successful bringing back that brand.
Different beer every couple of months. They have a different craft beer come out. Phenomenal people to do it. There again, anything we need with help with anything, they're right there to help us out.
That's 9 to 4 on Sunday, September 29th. Now, Sunday, September 30th is Purse Bingo.
Yes.
And this is a treasure trove in this area. People love bingo.
It is.
It's an almost sold out event, and this is at St. Maria Goretti's Church in Laughlin.
Yes.
Correct.
Last year was the first year we did the Purse Bingo. It sold out before the event even happened. They were there an hour beforehand lining up to get in.
Amazing.
You couldn't walk across the floor. There were so many people.
Truly
and it was an amazing event.
Amazing. And that is Sunday, September 30th. And then Monday, on October 1st, is the Paint Pazzo Pink. Now, Pazzo is that exclusive, high-scale, high-end restaurant on 315,
Yes.
Down the road, more or less, down 315 from 84 Lumber.
Right.
A very exclusive place. And they're also involved in this as a Hollywood-style fundraiser, Bob?
Yes, we are. We actually have you walk the pink carpet instead of the red carpet entering, and we have a display set up there. Myself and a couple other photographers go down. We'll take your picture walking the pink carpet, and then we post them online afterwards. And it's one of those places to be. Everybody wants to be at that event, to be seen at that event, to get their picture taken at that event. And it's just a great time for everybody that comes.
Walk the pink carpet. You guys think of everything. This is amazing. Wednesday, October 30th is Art and Wine at the Pittston Knights of Columbus on Main Street.
Yes, the Knights of Columbus joined in this year to have an event for us. It's going to be, paint your favorite picture, have some wine, and all held at the Knights of Columbus.
On Thursday, October 4th is yoga at the Sapphire Salon, of course, down at the Castle with Dr. Christine Kinziger. How did you come up with this?
She actually approached about doing a class like that.
Big yoga, hot yoga. Yeah,
yoga is great, and it's hot right now. And Dr. Kinziger is a great speaker and goes over a lot more than just yoga with motivational speaking and everything while she's there. And it's a great event, and that will sell out almost immediately also.
Friday, October 5th, Bob, is celebrity bartending at the Red Mill. That's come a long way. That's been there since I was a kid. And now with the deck on the side, right at the fork in the road in Pittston. That's a good deal as well. Pittston 7 to 9. Bartenders, you have guest bartenders on this as well.
Guest bartenders, guest bouncers, and that's one, get there early, because by the time you get around 8 o'clock at night, you can't walk through that bar. It is so packed.
That's a good deal. Guest bouncers. No one ever remembers the bouncers on a deal like that. But
no, they don't. But our guys come dressed in some in pink suits, so
no doubt
enjoys
about it. And Saturday, October 6th is race day.
That's our big day. We have our 5K race. We have our walk. If anybody doesn't want to run the 5K, they can also do the walk through town. Actually, the Cape Crusaders, they call themselves, for cancer research. The 5K is a color race. They actually have different spots throughout the race. They throw pink powder on everybody, so by the time people are done, and myself included taking pictures, you're covered in pink powder and everybody has a great time. Followed by that is the Gentleman's Dash. We have guys running in heels. And they raise money, and they're all trying to outdo each other for who can raise the most money. And they actually do the race right there, starting at the tomato lot to the corner there at the tomato drive. And these guys take it seriously. They want to win. So they will be running down Main Street in heels.
Something for everyone, of course, Riverfest on September 15th, and then it starts September 22nd with Paint Pittston Pink right up until Saturday, October 6th, and race day. And we certainly do hope for great weather for both of these events for you guys.
So do we.
And we'll see you back next year as well. Bob Price, he is the president of both Riverfest, Pittston Riverfest, and Paint Pittston Pink. I'm Rusty Fender. We thank you so much for joining us again. Good luck with the event.
Thanks for having
Mark
us.
McGlory, thank you so much for your time as well, our technical guru. Dave will be back next week, and we'll see you next week right here on ECTV Live. We thank you for listening.